Welcome to episode number 7 at the High School Football Roundup podcast for Tuesday, August 30th, 2016. I'm your host, Walter Johnson, and this is what I'm going to talk about on the High School Football Roundup podcast today. And Colquitt County Packers are 0-2 for the first time in 6 years. And I'll tell you what's wrong, what's ahead for the Packers. Also, Lee County 2-0 after a win over Bainbridge, and then the Monroe Tornadoes from Albany getting the season started off on a winning note. And the Worth County Rams came from behind to win at Turner County. So let's get started, and we'll start with the Colquitt County Packers on Saturday, August 27th. The Packers lost their second straight game in as many weeks, and they fell behind 17-0 against American Heritage out of Plantation, Florida, which is located near Miami, way down in South Florida. And the Packers did manage to score a couple of touchdowns in the second half, very late, but still fell 3 points short. Final score: American Heritage of Florida 17, Colquitt County 14. And the Packers' second straight defeat after not losing even one game over 2 full seasons in 2014 and 2015, while also winning back-to-back state championships in GHSA Class 6A along the way. Of course, Class 6A, all you high school football fans, just 2 years ago, GSSA Class 6A was the highest classification in the state. But, Class 7A is the new highest classification, thanks to the recent reclassification. But to make a long story short, the Packers are 0-2 for the first time since 2010. I'm sure a lot of people in Moultrie are probably asking, what's wrong with their football team, and obviously much tougher competition, and a lot of players that helped them win those back-to-back state championships in those 2 years, past 2 years. I mean, many of them are gone, and too many of those players to mention here in a short time on this podcast. And the schedule doesn't get any easier for Colquitt County. In fact, their next 5 opponents, all non-region games, and they have a combined overall record of 7 wins against only 1 loss. And the only loss among those teams belongs to the Packers' next opponent, and the Tucker Tigers out of DeKalb County in Metro Atlanta. And they lost to Kell in the Corky Kell Classic, but did get a win last week. And they still have to face Colquitt County still has to face the likes of Roswell, the team Colquitt County beat for the state title, Brookwood out of Gwinnett County, and facing an old rival in Valdosta, and also face the International School out of Broward County, Florida, another one of those South Florida teams, just like American Heritage. So, and it's a Friday night game for Colquitt County, and after playing back-to-back games on Saturday, and moving right along to the Lee County Trojans. And the Trojans from Leesburg are now 2-0 on the season after defeating the Bainbridge Bearcats down in Bainbridge, Georgia last week. Now scored 29-12. Lee County coming out on top. And one of the heroes for the Lee County Trojans in last week's victory over Bainbridge Bainbridge. Defensive back Otis Smart had 8 tackles, 2 of them for losses, 2 sacks, 2 broken up passes, and even a block kick in that victory. So that makes the Trojans 2-0 on the season. And 2-0 on the season. And the Trojans and the other 4, as well as the other 4 teams in GHSA Region 1-6A, finished won their games last week, and all 5 of those teams are 2-0. And Valdosta just absolutely walloped Woodland of Stockbridge, 51-12. Houston County, all over Houston County, down Peach County, 49-31. North side of Warner Robins, all over Henry County. And Coffee came from behind to edge Brunswick, 21-20. And I think one thing we learned, if there's anything I've learned for this early portion of this season, I think GHSA Region 1-6A, when I think it'll be very brutal, and it's going to be, since just like a couple of years ago, and I think the old Region 1-6A, all 6 teams, Camden, Colquitt, Lowndes, Camden, Colquitt, Lee County, Lowndes, Tipp County, and Valdosta finished non-region play a combined 29-0, and which is unbelievable in itself. I wouldn't be surprised if all 5 teams in the new Region 1-6A win the region play in October unbeaten in the non-region contest. And we're gonna move right along to the next segment, and 2 other Southwest Georgia teams, and specifically from here in Albany and Dougherty County, met at Hugh Mill Stadium on Saturday night in the form of the Monroe Tornadoes and the Westover Patriots. And wide receiver Ulysses Williams caught 2 passes and had almost 100 yards receiving, 96 of them to be exact, as the Tornadoes pitched a 12-0 shutout win over the Westover Patriots. And Monroe, and getting off to a really, really fast, Monroe getting their season off on the winning note, going to 1-0 on the season. And obviously head coach Charles Shrew and company didn't have much time to celebrate. And they'll be getting ready to return to Hugh Mill Stadium again on Thursday night, September 1st, against the Thomasville Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs might be 0-2, but they played their higher classification opponents very tough, and fell behind early against Class 4A Cairo, which is in Region 1, like the Patriots, and also a future region opponent for the Patriots and head coach Octavia Jones. And Cairo held off Thomasville. Cairo jumped out to a 13-0 lead against the Bulldogs, only to hold them off 23-12, the final score. And last week against Class 5A Thomas County Central, and the Bulldogs made things interesting, pulled it within 2 points, only to fall 2 points short in a 16-14 loss. And it'll be interesting to see how this Tornadoes team will fare, and on such short notice, such short rest. And as for the Patriots, and they fall to 0-1 on the season, and they'll look to bounce back against Albany High at Hugh Mill Stadium in the Friday night contest on September 2nd. And it's a 7 p.m. kickoff for the Thursday night game between Monroe and Thomasville at Hugh Mill Stadium. And 7:30 for the Friday night game between Albany High and Westover. And Albany High fell to 0-2 after being shut out by Mitchell County 24-0. And just the week before, AHS fell 21-12 to the Pelham Hornets out of Pelham, Georgia. And this is right before getting to the end, crossing the county line from Mitchell into Thomas along US Highway 19 South. And the Indians went winless last year, going 0-9, and getting off to a rough start for head coach Felton Williams and the Orange and Green this year, 0-2. And Albany High will try to get back on track against the Westover team that's also trying to get back on the winning track. And the Patriots managed just 2 wins all last season. And our final segment in the High School Football Roundup podcast is the Worth County Rams. And the Rams just absolutely got taken to the woodshed by Thomas County Central. At Thomas County Central, as the Yellow Jackets cruised to a convincing 48-7 win. But and against Turner County on the road up in Ashburn, Georgia, along I-75. And the Rams fell behind early, 14-0. It was 36-21 in the fourth quarter. But somehow the Rams managed to pull out a big victory. Managed to come from behind in the closing seconds. And Seth Suter, last name spelled Souter, booted a field goal right in between the uprights in the final seconds. And to complete the comeback, in the final score, Worth County 39, Turner County 36. And as hard as it might be to believe, Worth County was just that close to being 0-2, starting 0-2, but thanks to that late rally, and that perseverance, and the Rams are now 1-1 on the season, and head coach Jason Tone and his Chargers will host their first home game of 2016, taking on the Warhawks Veterans High School out of Kathleen, Georgia, in Houston County, located roughly in between Warner Robins, Perry, the county seat, and Peach County, which is Fort Valley. And Kathleen's located right in between Warner Robins, Perry, and Fort Valley. And it's the second Region 1-5A opponent in 3 weeks for the Worth County Rams. It's in Thomas County and Veterans both compete in Region 1-5A. And last but certainly not least, you got Pelham pitching a shutout over Bacon and Charter, 40-0 in Miller County, handing Terrell County a second straight loss, 29-20, and Deerfield Windsor in the GISA, losing a heartbreaker in Tallahassee, Florida, to North Florida Christian, 30-23. And unfortunately, that's going to do it for this episode of the High School Football Roundup podcast. And remember, you can listen at southwestgeorgianetwork.com and on Spreaker at SWGA Network 12345, and follow on Twitter at SWGA Network. And I do encourage you to share this podcast with your friends Walter Johnson.